Hi, this is Little Dwarf playing games while rambling incoherently into a microphone. Why? Well, just because I can. And they continue with Gabriel Knight, Sins of the Father, Blind. Now, last time I read this pretty interesting German poem.
Gabriel selects a volume of German poetry that he always found strangely compelling.
Drei Drachen. Drei Drachen kriechen in meinen Schlaf. Die Ziele wollen sie lebendig zum Fraß. Feurigen Atems, gespaltener Zunge, genießen sie jedes Mal.
It's called Three Dragons. And also, I can't fail to notice that the game very much wants me to know that, even if I don't speak German, because in this German dictionary, one of the phrases...
Gabriel leaves...
Drei means three.
Yeah, you get three.
Besessen means possessed.
You get possessed.
Gabriel...
Drachen means dragons. I wonder if Mosley would know he was being insulted if I called him Drachenbread.
So it specifically sort of takes care that you know that Drei Drachen means three dragons. So I will go back to my grandma's house.
I'm going out.
Good luck.
And try to mess with the clock, like set it to 3 o'clock with the dragon on top or something, because there is specifically a dragon on the clock.
Gabriel, come in.
Hi, Gran.
That doesn't seem to work that way.
I'm going up the attic again.
Enjoy yourself, dear.
The ring of symbols does not appear to have any mechanical function, but it does move.
Or are there dragons? I'm not entirely sure when I look at it now.
A ring of 6 symbols surround the face of the clock. A sword, a sun, an angel, a noose, an eclipse, and a dragon.
Okay, so this is the dragon. So let's make it, sort of dragon o'clock. Either this or set it over here, maybe, but it doesn't seem to align directly, so I think this would be the right position. And then you would have to turn this so that's... Damn it really doesn't work that well with my sensitivity. Like it's really unwieldy. Like it might seem that I'm goofing around, but it's just really unwieldy.
Granddaddy, you old fox.
Okay, great.
The photo, probably at least 50 years old, shows 2 young men standing with an older man outside a castle.
I wonder who they are.
The letter is addressed to Heinz Ritter, whoever that is.
That's the author of that poem that I used to open this. And also, someone called Klaus Ritter, I think? Some other guy with the same surname has been calling me.
The letter is written in German, but Gabriel determines what he can about it. It was sent from a place called Schloss Ritter in Rittersberg, West Germany. The letter is addressed to mein Sohn Heinz and signed Wilhelm Ritter. One of the recurring words strewn throughout the letter is the word Schattenjäger. The only thing that Gabriel can decipher about the letter is a sense of urgency in the handwriting and in the heavy use of quill-tipped bold strokes and underlining.
Jäger means hunter in German?
The old photographs show Gabriel's grandfather with two other men that Gabriel has not identified.
Well, I can probably ask my grandma about this.
That's it. Take a load off, hon.
Can we talk, Gran?
Of course, my boy. How can I help?
Do you know anything about snakes?
Snakes? What kind of snakes, dear?
I don't know. Local kinds?
Well, we used to get cottonmouths in the park when I was a girl, but I haven't heard of one being sighted for years. Milk snakes and garter snakes are also around these parts, but they can't hurt you.
Thanks, Gran. Have you ever heard of a Schattenjäger?
Schattenjäger? Schattenjäger. How odd, Gabriel. I haven't heard that word in years. My goodness, you've given me a chill. Your granddad used to say that sometimes in his sleep.
Really? Do you know what it means?
No, I'm afraid not. I asked him about it once. I don't think he answered me. Odd.
Thanks, Gran. Do you know anyone named Heinz Ritter?
Heinz Ritter? Oh, Gabriel. Where did you hear that name?
I found a letter in Granddaddy's clock.
I promised I'd never tell you or your father. But I suppose it doesn't matter now.
Tell me, Gran.
Your granddad's name was Heinz Ritter before he came to America. He changed it to Harrison Knight legally when he arrived.
That's kind of makes an awful lot of sense, because Ritter is, I believe, either straight up German for knight, or at least German for mounted rider, which is how maybe the word for knight is somehow related to that. But I'm very sure it at the very least means mounted rider, and might specifically mean knight in German. So he sort of translated his name into English when he immigrated.
Why did Granddad change his name?
I don't know. I tried to ask him about his family, his life before America, but he didn't want to talk about it. He never even told me about his name change. I found out one day when I saw his passport in a drawer. Since he obviously found it painful, I never questioned him about it. But I'm sure it wasn't trouble with the law. Your granddad was the best man I ever knew.
It's what, 90s? Currently? And I'm what, 30? So that would be 60s when I was born. It might have something to do with Hitler. Like, you know, Third Reich and World War II would kind of check out, timeline-wise, for my grandparents, I think. Possibly.
Well, Gran, I better get going.
All right, dear.
I will go back to the shop.
Hello, beautiful. It's me.
The excitement of seeing you is killing me.
Because maybe I can translate the letter?
Gabriel doesn't need to share that letter.
Do you know anything about this?
No, sorry.
Seen any good movies?
I saw a great documentary last night on pyramid excavations.
You mean small, dark places that haven't been touched in centuries? Sounds right up your alley.
Well, it did help me gain a better understanding of your mind.
Got a minute, Grace?
What's up?
Have you ever heard of a Schattenjäger?
No. Is that a voodoo word?
I don't think so. It's German.
No, but it has a nice ring, doesn't it? Schattenjäger.
Could you do some research for me?
Sure. What?
I can't think of anything.
Okay.
Do you have messages for me?
Nope. None right now.
Gabriel leafs through a German-English dictionary.
Let's see. Mittag means midday, noon.
Okay, so it just repeats the same words from before. I don't think this is going to help me right now.
See you later.
Don't hurry back on my account.
The Garden District is famous for its elaborate old plantation homes and mansions. This particular mansion is impeccably groomed. The garden potted roses mark the entrance to the house. The huge trees bear beards of Spanish moss. It's a brass door knocker. The front door of the Getty mansion looks unusually solid and heavy. Gabriel can't get inside unless he's invited. This door's pretty solid. The knocker is firmly attached to the front door.
Yes, I want to knock at the door.
The knocker doesn't open.
What?
May I help you? I'd like to see Malia Getty, please. I'm sorry, but unless you have an appointment or official business, I cannot announce you.
Well...
Wrong house. Never mind. Fine. Good day.
Maybe I can ask Mosley to set me up? He seems to know her.
Got a second, officer?
What can I do you for?
Have you ever heard of a Schattenjäger?
Can't say that I have, but it sounds dirty.
I'm here to see Detective Mosley.
He's in his office. Go on back.
Mosley, my man.
Knight, come on in.
Can I ask you about some stuff?
You're the writer. Ask away.
Have you ever heard of a Schattenjäger?
No. Ha! Is that anything like a Chuck Yeager?
I don't think there's any relation.
I specifically wanted to ask him about Malia Getty, but I don't think I even can.
What's the status on the Voodoo murders case?
You're as filled in as me.
Mosley was one of those beefy guys in his youth. Now he's getting lumpy. The badge in his front coat pocket is set off particularly well by the gold polyester of his jacket.
There's something to check out or take while he's not here, right? Because there's specifically an option to ask him to get me coffee, and he leaves for a second, but I'm not sure what is that supposed to accomplish. Okay, I'll leave for now and go to the museum because
I'll let you get back to it.
Ciao, baby.
The owner was supposed to be back. Also, they've been fixing the thermos. No, I didn't want to do that.
Gabriel.
I'm gonna hit the road.
What can I do with the thermostat? Because they've been like fixing it.
There's a temperature gauge on the wall near Mosley's office. The security cage has been removed by the electrician.
Yeah. So, like, I have no idea what that would accomplish, but in the true sort of adventure game style, I definitely feel I should fiddle with that.
Can I ask you a few questions, ma'am?
I'm sorry, sir, but I really have to finish these reports.
Well, did anything change?
Gabriel should go to the counter to talk to the desk sergeant.
It's hot in here. Dang, the air conditioning must be on the blink. Are you hot? Man, I'm hot.
Oh, okay, I get it now. I have to...
Can I ask you about some stuff?
You're the writer. Ask away.
I have to get him out because he left his coat, and I assume there's a small colorful detail on it. That's probably like his badge or something, some kind of an ID, police ID, whatever. And maybe I can use that to like impersonate him. Although that wouldn't make sense because, well, like, it wouldn't make sense with an ID because obviously we look different. But clearly there's, this is leading somewhere, so let's get him out and search his coat.
How about getting me some coffee?
What am I, your slave?
Hey, I'm working my butt off here.
Yeah, fine. Some people are never satisfied.
Although, how would he not notice?
I think I'll just borrow this badge.
This is pretty...
Hey, what are you doing with my coat?
Nothing. I thought I saw something crawling on it.
What kind of cop?
Just drink this.
Even disregarding, this is ridiculously illegal.
Thanks. Tons. I mean it.
What kind of cop wouldn't notice that his badge is gone? Like, this kind of strains my credibility, I think. I mean, it strains credibility in my eyes.
Please select.
May I help you? I'd like to see Malia Getty, please. I'm sorry, but unless you have an appointment or official business, I cannot announce you. I do have official business. Really? Please tell me the nature of your business.
This is the last. Those two are. Gabriel is carrying Mosley's badge.
My name is Detective Mosley. I'm here on police business. Really? How interesting. Wait here. I'll inform Miss Getty.
Now, she obviously will learn that
Miss
I'm
Getty
not...
will see you. Right this way. Miss Getty will be down shortly. Thank you.
She knows him personally, so it'll be like a second before she knows that I'm not him.
What can I do for you, Detective?
Wait, what? How? What are you talking about? You know Mosley, you've talked with him before. How? What?
Beautiful women. They must be relatives.
They are.
Romantic.
I like firelight, Detective.
Harvard Classic. Homer. Virgil. Maybe Malia wouldn't be impressed by a signed copy of one of Gabriel's novels.
Modern art?
More or less. It's a Picasso.
Ming Dynasty, perhaps? The chair side table probably cost more than Gabriel's shop. genuine lion skin.
I can imagine doing things on that rug.
Excuse me?
Oh, nothing. Nice statue, I like it.
Thank you. It's The Rebellious Slave by Michelangelo.
Romantic.
I like firelight, Detective.
Roses and gardenias give the air a sweet taint.
Undoubtedly proof that there is a God. This is quite a place.
Thank you. It's been in the family a long time.
Done anything exciting lately?
I'm sorry, but I'm very busy. Can we get to the point?
Mind if I ask you a few questions, Miss Getty?
I assume that's what you're here for, Detective.
I still don't understand how can she not recognize that I'm not him? He talked to her as if they knew each other already. Like, it wasn't the first time they met, so it's pretty weird in my account.
Do you have any idea what Cabri Saint-Gar means?
No, I don't. What does it mean, Detective?
That's confidential information, ma'am. Have you ever heard of a Schattenjäger?
No, I'm afraid I can't help you with that, Detective.
What can you tell me about St. John's Eve?
I believe it's some sort of local holiday, but I don't know much about it.
Do you know anything about snakes?
I'm afraid I quite abhor them.
Tell me about your life in New Orleans.
The Getty family came to New Orleans in 1800. We worked very hard to get where we are. On the other hand, we've done a lot for this community.
I can believe that. You're doing a lot for me right now. Tell me more about New Orleans.
I'm afraid I don't get out into New Orleans society much. Because of the Getty money, we have slots in the best country clubs and on the best Mardi Gras courts. But I must admit, I hate it. I avoid actually making an appearance unless it becomes absolutely necessary.
I know about those courts. They're very exclusive.
Yes, especially when it comes to people of my race. That's why we don't turn down the appointments. It's a rare opportunity to rub their noses in it. But that's not where I spend my time. I have more important things to do with my life.
That's admirable. Many women would love the chance to get caught up in that kind of life.
I'm not any kind of woman you might be familiar with.
Yes, I can see that. Tell me more about New Orleans.
I don't know what else you want to hear, Detective. Anything you might care to know about my public life you can easily look up in the papers.
What can you tell me about Voodoo?
Voodoo? Why would you want to know about that, Detective? It's rather silly, isn't it?
There's nothing silly about the Voodoo murders.
But that voodoo is faked. That's what I've read in the papers.
That's what the papers say, all right.
But you're not convinced?
No, frankly, I'm not. The police department isn't known for its imagination.
Oh. Well, I can see that your imagination is considerable.
Are you sure you can't tell me anything about Voodoo?
I really don't know much about it. Isn't there some place in town that you can find out about that sort of thing? A museum or something?
I believe there is a museum.
Then maybe you should check there.
What do you know about the Voodoo murders?
The murders? Only what I read in the papers.
And what do you read in the papers?
I'm sure you know much more about it than I, Detective.
What do you know about the Voodoo murders?
The murders? Only what I read in the papers.
What can you tell me about St. John's Eve?
I believe it's some sort of local holiday, but I don't know much about it.
Tell me about yourself.
I suppose I don't really have a choice. What do you want to know, Detective?
Tell me about your family.
The Gettys? We're a very private family.
How many people are there in your family?
Well, my mother just passed away.
I am sorry.
So am I. She was a magnificent woman. We were very close. I was an only child.
And your father?
I never knew him.
It's hard to believe that any man would leave a woman like you. Or like your mother must have been.
He did not leave, Detective. But that's really none of your concern.
I'm sorry. Go on.
There are, of course, other Gettys in the city. I have a large, extended family.
I see. Do you have a career?
A career? Being the head of the Getty family is a 24-hour-a-day job. We have many holdings and many responsibilities, financial and otherwise. The management of our business affairs and properties leaves me with time for little else.
Poor little rich girl?
Believe it or not, Detective, wealth does have its price.
What kind of things interest you?
I don't have a lot of free time, but I do appreciate the arts. Opera, symphony, ballet, fine art. If you look around, you'll see that we collect African art, for example.
Yes, it's very beautiful.
It is, Detective. It means a great deal to me.
I'm not going to hit on her.
I'd like to hear just about anything.
I do a lot of charity work around the city, primarily in the prison and reform system. I'm not a professional sociologist, but it does interest me.
I wouldn't know where to begin.
As you wish, Detective.
Can you tell me anything about what happened out at the lake?
I wish I could, but I've never seen or heard anything unusual at the lake, and I do spend quite a bit of time out there.
Can you tell me anything about what happened out at the lake?
I wish I could.
Have you ever heard of a Schattenjäger?
No, I'm afraid I can't help you with that, Detective.
Do you have any idea what Cabri Saint-Gar means?
No, I don't.
Okay, so that doesn't help me as much as I thought it would.
I should be going.
All right.
See ya, beautiful.
I hope you get your man, Detective.
No, I guess I'll go to the museum, because the owner should be back, and he can tell me something about Voodoo. But I can't fail to notice that I'm walking around with a stolen police badge, which is so illegal that it's not even funny.
Welcome, my friend.
Hello.
I am the proprietor, Dr. John. If you have any questions, I will be happy to assist.
Great. My name is Knight, and I'll probably take you up on that.
Dr. John is a huge man. If his manner weren't so pleasant, he'd be intimidating.
This is quite a place you have here.
Thank you, Mr. Knight. I have dedicated myself to the preservation of this unique culture. It is gratifying to see others reap the fruits I have sown.
So where'd you pick up all this stuff?
Oh, here and there. We accept donations of any pertinent items.
Did you ever get any wackos in here?
You mean besides yourself?
Yeah, besides me.
I do not care to make those kind of judgments, Mr. Knight. All are welcome here.
You're a big guy, aren't you? Do you work out? Play sports?
I do not play basketball, if that is what you want to know.
Who, me? No. You just look like such a natural athlete.
I do find ways of keeping fit, Mr. Knight. After all, our bodies are temples.
You sound like Grace. I should get the two of you together.
Is Grace your wife?
No, she just acts like it. So what do you think of our summer weather? Have you ever seen it so overcast or so muggy?
It is unpleasant. The heavens are not pleased these days.
Nice outfit.
I prefer simple cotton to dead flesh, Mr. Knight.
I'll have to remember that. So, how is the museum business?
Those who truly seek understanding are few, Mr. Knight. But even one can be an audience.
Yep, sounds about like my shop. So where'd you pick up all this stuff?
Oh, here and there.
Could I ask you some questions?
That is why I am here.
What can you tell me about voodoo?
Historical voodoo? Or the voodoo currently practiced in the city?
Both, actually.
What can you tell me about voodoo?
Historical voodoo?
What do you know about the voodoo murders?
The killings in the newspaper? I know that they have nothing to do with true voodoo in New Orleans.
What makes you think the voodoo murders aren't being done by local practitioners?
Voodoo is a popular boogeyman, Mr. Knight, especially in New Orleans. Anyone can pretend to use it, just as anyone can pretend to be a black belt in karate, and for the same reason, to intimidate. I know voodoo in this city, Mr. Knight, and believe me, it is not about killing. Even the police have stated that the killings have nothing to do with local voodoo.
So you know nothing about the voodoo murders case?
I neither know nor care to know, Mr. Knight. My only possible interest is in how it might affect the public's attitude towards the museum. So far, it has not been an issue. No one has even had the bad taste to bring it up. Until you, that is.
So you know nothing about the voodoo murders case?
I neither know nor care to know, Mr.
What do you think of New Orleans?
It is the only city in the United States as far as I am concerned.
What is it about New Orleans that you so admire?
It has a real culture of its own, Mr. Knight, amid the horrid blandness that is Americana. New Orleans alone has a voice.
Spoken like a true New Orleanian. Do you have anything else to say about New Orleans?
I have already given you my opinion, Mr. Knight.
Do you know anything about snakes?
Ah, you have perhaps noticed the museum's snake, Mr. Knight. They are beautiful creatures, do you not agree? And the tourists seem to associate them with voodoo.
Is the snake yours? Do you use it in your practice of voodoo?
I admire the spirit of this snake, Mr. Knight, but snakes like the museums can be quite dangerous to handle.
You didn't really answer my question.
I think I did, Mr. Knight.
I'd really like to know more about your snake.
There is really nothing more to say, Mr. Knight.
What can you tell me about St. John's Eve?
It is one of the important ceremonial nights in voodoo.
What else can you tell me about St. John's Eve?
I am afraid I do not know the origins of St. John's Eve. I only know that it was a night of ritual long before voodoo came to New Orleans.
Do you have any idea what Cabri Saint-Gar means?
I fear my French is not all it should be, Mr. Knight.
You're sure you haven't heard the term caprice encore?
I am sure, Mr. Knight.
I kinda get the feeling he might be lying. Like, there was a pause in his voice as he said, "My French is not all it should be." That might have implied he was lying.
Have you ever heard of a Schattenjäger?
No, I have not.
Tell me about yourself.
Me?
Yes, if you don't mind.
What is it you wish to learn?
Why did you open a voodoo museum?
The subject has fascinated me all my life, and I wanted to help preserve the cultural heritage it represents.
What kind of background in voodoo do you have?
Let us say that I cut my teeth on it, Mr. Knight. It is in my blood.
Do you do anything besides run the museum?
No. The museum does not make me a rich man, but my material needs are simple. I prefer to focus on my one true interest in life.
What are your own religious beliefs?
My beliefs are too personal and too complex to discuss with a layman, Mr. Knight.
Just tell me anything.
I am originally from the West Indies myself, you know.
Really? What brought you to New Orleans?
I was drawn here for personal reasons.
Actually, I can't think of a thing.
Then, let us discuss something else.
Tell me about historical voodoo.
Very well. I will start at the beginning, Mr. Knight, and will go on from there at your prompting.
Sounds good.
As you may know, Voodoo is a grassroots religion formed by the mixing together of many different African tribal religions and Anglo religions, such as Catholicism or Protestantism. In other words, it is a religion born of the African slave trade. But African slaves were imported not only by the United States, but also into the West Indies, where the French and Spanish ran plantation islands. Prior to 1803, the New Orleans area was owned by France. The French Creole in those days owned many African slaves. But the Creole did not permit their slaves to gather, giving no chance for voodoo to breed here natively. The Creole also knew enough about the corrupted pagan practices of the West Indies slaves to ban the importing of slaves from that region.
So, how did voodoo come to New Orleans?
After the Louisiana Purchase, American legislators relaxed regulations. Slaves were permitted to gather. The Americans also removed the ban on West Indies slaves. Around the same time, a slave revolt occurred in Santo Domingo, what is now Haiti. Between the lifting of the ban and the Haitian revolt, West Indies slaves began pouring into New Orleans. Some of them were free people of color, freed or escaped slaves. Some came with their white owners who were fleeing from the revolt.
What happened when the West Indies slaves got here?
They brought voodoo with them. The native slaves were more than enthusiastic about embracing it. It gave them power, Mr. Knight, if only in the form of a communal bond. Among the first meeting places were the Bayou St. John and the shore of Lake Pontchartrain. The early voodoos were heavy snake worshippers, worshipping the one they called the Great Zombie.
Okay, so the lake has a seemingly great significance for voodoo. So that's, I think, sort of very pertinent to the case at hand.
Tell me more about historical voodoo.
By 1817, the voodoo activities were beginning to cause fear among the white slave owners. An ordinance was passed to forbid slave gatherings except in designated public areas at designated times. The time was Sunday afternoons and the place Congo Square. The slaves and free people of color gathered to dance simulations of their voodoo dances, right in sight of Creole society. Of course, they also continue to meet in private for the real thing.
Tell me more about historical voodoo.
There were a variety of kings and queens at first, voodoo priests and priestesses. But from about 1830, a single power emerged. This was a voodoo queen named Marie Laveau. Marie Laveau ruled voodoo in New Orleans for many years.
Tell me more about historical voodoo.
I've given you as much detail as I can, Mr. Knight. Look around the museum if you desire more information.
Tell me about current voodoo.
Many people think of voodoo in terms of magic spells or gree-gree. That kind of practice is actually called hoodoo and is only a part of true voodoo. Voodoo, the religion, has a strong following in New Orleans. In fact, it is growing quite rapidly. There are several voodoo churches or temples in the city, and others all across the United States. African Americans see it as a tradition all their own. Whites, and there are many in their religion, are attracted to it because they think it is exotic. I, personally, am more interested in the history of voodoo. Some of the new movements are copying Haitian or even African voodoo. But it is the voodoo of New Orleans that I find so intriguing.
That's very interesting, and something the fact that there's supposedly, at least at the time, were actual voodoo temples in New Orleans. Like, I didn't even entirely, because obviously in voodoo you have, sort of hundreds of those different spirits and stuff. So I didn't, sure, I had sort of the idea that you might have shrines to them or leave offerings or whatever, but I haven't had the concept, and to be honest, I still don't, of an actual voodoo temple. What would that even look like? I might sort of look it up and try to get some kind of a perception. Although, if the subject matter of the game is an indication, maybe I will actually visit one before the game ends.
Tell me more about current voodoo.
There are many voodooians in New Orleans. They often do business selling gree-gree, telling fortunes, providing luck, and occasionally misfortune. Perhaps you would like to meet a voodooan. We refer those who seek a deeper experience with voodoo to a local practitioner, Magentia Moonbeam.
Sure, I'd love to meet her.
She lives on the corner of Orleans and Dauphine. I will call her and tell her you might stop by.
Great, thanks. Tell me more about current voodoo.
You have tapped my resources. My expertise is really historical. Perhaps Ms. Moonbeam can be of further help.
Is there anything else I should know about hoodoo?
Not if your interest is primarily in voodoo. Hoodoo is of interest to those who study rural folk traditions, but it will not aid you in understanding true voodoo.
Is there anything else I should know about hoodoo?
Not if your interest is primarily in voodoo.
Do you know Malia Getty?
Should I?
She referred me to your museum.
Many have read about our museum in the newspapers, Mr. Knight.
That's a good point. Are you sure you don't know Malia Getty?
Quite sure, Mr. Knight.
Tell me more about Marie Laveau.
There were actually two Marie Laveaux, mother and daughter. Most people thought they were the same woman. Her continued youth added to the mystique. The original, the mother, was also known as Widow Paris. It was she that began the empire. When the Widow Paris began to practice, there were many voodooians in the city. By 1830, she was voodoo queen of all New Orleans.
Tell me more about Marie Laveau.
The widow Paris was a hairdresser for rich Creole ladies. She also paid household servants to spy for her. Between the two, she knew everything about everyone who mattered in New Orleans. She was not above using her information to appear psychic, to intimidate, or even to blackmail.
You sound as though you admire her.
For a black woman in the mid-1800s to gain power is an incredible thing, Mr. Knight, however she achieved it.
Tell me more about Marie Laveau.
She kept a pet snake, danced with it too. She held traditional voodoo ceremonies out by the lake. She took herself seriously, very seriously. But she was not above selling tickets for her events to curiosity seekers. She was not above using voodoo any way she could to make money. That is for certain. But if she had been in another line of work, in another age, that would have been interpreted as entrepreneurial genius rather than a sign of fraudulence.
Hey, you don't need to convince me. I admire anyone that can actually make a living. Tell me more about Marie Laveau.
It was Marie Laveau who defined the voodoo that is truly and uniquely the voodoo of New Orleans. She invented hundreds, if not thousands of spells, potions, charms, and incantations. These form the basis of the modern practice, not to mention the folk tradition of hoodoo.
Tell me more about Marie Laveau.
Her daughter, Marie Glapion, took over when the widow Paris got old. Most people thought it was the same Marie Laveau. Both Maries encouraged that point of view. The widow Paris died in 1881. Marie Glapion had been reigning a long time by then. After the death of the widow Paris, other voodoo queens surfaced, and by 1890, the cult was fragmented again. Marie Glapion just sort of faded away.
Tell me more about Marie Laveau.
The Laveau tomb, where one or both of the Maries are believed to be buried, is in St. Louis Cemetery No. 1. It is a popular shrine for practitioners and tourists alike. I myself take tours through the cemetery on a regular basis.
Really? Do you have any running this week?
No, but the cemetery is open to the general public as well.
Tell me more about Marie Laveau.
You have heard everything about Marie Laveau that a layman might expect to understand.
Okay. That was a very long conversation, but it was rather fruitful because I learned of another prominent voodoo figure, and judging by the sound, yeah, I probably got quite a lot of points out of that, which is an indication of meaningful progress, I imagine. You know, you get those points for things that matter in the game. But this episode has been long enough, so I'm going to save and end it for now. That's all for this one, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!